Technology and tradition combined and mixed to create a unique and charming culture. Because of that, the Japanese have naturally adopted motorsport, and Formula One has been a major presence here for decades. Today, our drivers race at a track that has been the home of the Japanese Grand Prix for the majority of its existence. But this technical circuit has become renowned as a driver's track and will no doubt separate the good from the great. We'll see who steps up to the challenge as we get ready to watch round 6 of the iRacing Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Samuel Ryman. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sam, Suzuka is relatively new compared to some of the European tracks on the schedule, but I feel I'm not too far off the mark to say this has turned into one of the more legendary tracks these cars race on.
Yeah, you talk about culture, Joe. Well, Formula One fans, in particularly the British ones, tend to have this culture associated with them of turning up their nose at a cheap glass of champagne and maybe even a newer Formula One racetrack. However, the Suzuka circuit has definitely earned its stamp of approval among Formula One fans in years gone by. Not only is it a technical circuit that drivers love, although it might give the mechanics some headaches, but it has witnessed some historic moments in Formula One's history, particularly championship-deciding races, not only between Prost and Senna, but between Hakkinen and Schumacher as well. It is a 3.6 mile, that's a 5.8 kilometer long circuit with 17 turns, many of which are also quite historic. The names of these corners well known among F1 fans: Spoon, the 130R, the Casio chicane, and also the Degner turns are always quite tricky. We're going to be racing 34 laps here tonight, so 3/4 distance of your typical Formula One race. Let's give you an idea of what one lap around here is like with our GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Harrison Finch in the GSRC McLaren, so let's do a lap around Suzuka. As you come up to turn 1, you're braking at almost the same moment that you start to turn the car in. This bleeds directly into 2, making late passes into here a little scary. Immediately, you're thrown into the S's, which require a lot of precision to avoid losing time. Just get a little bit offline and you'll find yourself dropping tenths. The good news is it's very difficult to pass anywhere through here unless someone has a catastrophic moment. The final left-hander of the set that leads you into Dunlop isn't quite flat out, but as soon as you feel it grip, stop it, because you won't be lifting until Degner 1. This is a real thread-the-needle corner, and you'll need the car to be stable so that you can brake hard for Degner 2. There's a lot of banking here, but watch out because it'll be easy to lose it over the curbs on the exit. Then comes the short blast to the hairpin where you might see a few passes, but the curved entry means it's tough to tell when someone will go defensive until the last second. From out of there, be careful not to spin the tires because 200R is another long stretch where your foot is all the way to the floor for quite a while. But for all the speed you'll build, you won't often see passes into Spoon. You'll barely dip under 120 at the first apex, and even the second one is still over 90 miles an hour. But it's the corner exit that really deserves attention because it's a long climb up the backstretch. And while the slipstream might see some battles break out, there's only a little lift through 130R, so this could wind up being a big game of chicken. Really, most of the side-by-side action takes place here into the Casio Triangle. Drivers will be daring one another to be the latest of the late breakers. But just like Spoon, it's incredibly important that you don't spin the tires coming off of here for the best run onto the pit straight. And with that, you've now hopefully finished a lap around Suzuka. Of course, a big thanks to Harrison for driving that lap for us, as it's a little bit more cloudy out here today compared to that lap. Now, qualifying is underway, but as we wait for some lap times to get on the board, why don't we take a glance at the championship standings? Up at the top is still Mano Domingo, with one of the drop weeks now calculated in the points. And of course, that little switch up means that we've now got Matteo Calistani moving up to second, and Nicholas Rasmussen getting bumped down to third. There you see Kyle Germanton gets onto the top 5. He's been having some good races lately, but he is still 166 points back from being or not. unable to be overcome, but he's going to have to find a lot of pace, obviously, to try and start beating him out on track. And then Jorge Montañez rounds out our top 5. And of course, we have the race details. Sam, what are we looking at today?
Well, Joe, these races are run as regular Formula One races, albeit a bit shorter. Everyone has a McLaren MP4-30, albeit a bit more reliable. We are approaching the halfway point of the season, round number 6 of 12, so we'll be halfway at the completion of today's race. Open setup, so these drivers can feel free to tinker with their car setups. Obviously, they all have a qualifying fuel load and a couple more adjustments under them right now. And then they'll get their race setup dialed in for a 34-lap race. And this will be an interesting strategy race here, Joe, because typically Suzuka is a track that is not kind to tyres. However, you mentioned it being overcast, a 69-degree track temperature. That is really cold, and you're going to want to avoid having cold tyres on your car, I'm sure.
Certainly want to get him up to temperature, get him to working order. Ricardo Orozco, who did an alternate strategy last race and managed to get himself a nice second place, out back again as he comes to the Casio chicane, trying to see if he can give himself a lap time, and he's going to give up on it. Interesting. Right now, Nicholas Rasmussen just took the fastest time out on track here in qualifying. Now, a name that I see that we didn't get to see on the broadcast yet, but we had noted won the first round that we didn't get to cover. Kazuki Umeshima is out here, which not too much of a surprise here, Sam. The Japanese drivers tend to like their home track.
Yeah, just like you see many Brazilians race at Interlagos, or British drivers go to Silverstone. So we'll see where the driver of that number 4 car is able to filter in once he gets a qualifying time on the board. He doesn't yet. Actually, a lot of drivers don't yet. I almost wonder if these cooler track temperatures have caught them off guard and they went out to do a run and then realized, hey, I can actually do this to the car, make it go a bit faster. Jorge Montañez in the number 9, he just set the fastest qualifying time now of 1:30.2, but still a lot of time left to play as Evan Lathoris filters into P3.
Montañez is another one of our former winners this season. There's Adam Tierney for Radicals Online, working his way around Spoon, up the long backstretch, then up to 130R. I was a little surprised that they couldn't take this flat out, and it sounds like he's a little slow here, so maybe just setting up for his flying lap. Here is Adam.
Oh, that could also be, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing it flat out right now, Joe, because they have light fuel load and the cool track temperatures. It could also be a setup thing. Drivers who have a higher downforce dialed into their car will probably be able to do it flat out, whereas drivers who might have a bit of a lower downforce setup might have to lift. And we could see that definitely come into play today, considering the fact this track is, half of it is very twisty, half of it opens up a bit, and some drivers have a preference over which parts of the track they prefer to be a bit faster at.
Umeshima steps up to the pole and gets himself about 0.3 faster than Montañez. That's a nice little gap around here. Let's see if Montañez can come back and get his second lap a little bit faster. He's actually heading around Degner 2 at the moment, so still about half a lap to go. Championship leader Manu Domingo coming around to finish his lap, though. He currently sits as far down as 7th, unusually low for Manu. A bad qualifying certainly not going to help you here, Sam.
Yeah, but that's probably why he's given it another attempt. Maybe he just wasn't happy with that lap. And comes
he abandons the second one.
Okay, he's going to have to live with that.
Interesting stuff there.
Harrison Finch in the number 14 machine has yet to put on the time. We saw at Spa, qualifying didn't mean a whole lot for him. However, I'm sure he would have liked to have started up front. Is he going to be able to do that today? Yes.
On the second row for now, provisionally. Now Orozco is coming up. We've seen he's a fast driver with his beautiful use of strategy over at Montreal last week, coming around the final corner up to the timing line. What does he put on the board? First place on the pole by 2/1000ths of a second over Umeshima. Wow. Things are tight out there. Now, Oscar, last week's winner. What can the Coanda driver do? Could he try and topple him? Oh, and he's not on a flying lap, we understand. That's going to be our grid. Everybody has qualified. So let's go through our starting order. Orozco on the pole. Can he redeem himself from last week and try to take a win? Kazuki Umeshima will start next to him. And then row 2 is begun by Michael Partington, who we haven't really seen much of yet in this series. 4th is going to be Harrison Finch. Can he get another win? Same thing with Jorge Montañez. I'm sure starting from 5th is going to make it a little tough for him. Nicholas Rasmussen will begin in P6. And then in row 4, you've got Tommy Osgaard starting 7th with Diogo Oliveira starting 8th. P9 will be Evan Lathoris, and Rode Venderbosch will round out our top 10. Sam?
Starting in 11th position is going to be Manu Domingo, a bit further back in the field than we'd expect. He'll be starting ahead of Carl Drummondton. Adam Tierney and Rob Boa will round out row number 7 and ahead of Matteo Calistani and Stefan Schmidt. The last 2 qualifiers were Stephen Larkamp and Alexei Sirotkin. 2 drivers did not turn the lap in qualifying. Those are Josh Thompson and Ryan Parkins as the cars again gridded up.
There we see from above, just waiting for a couple more spots. As we got our nice wire cam shot down the grid, all the drivers making sure they've got the right setup in the car. And just look at some of the teams that we've got out there today. Affinity, Radicals, obviously some really big players. Coanda out there on the front row. In fact, I believe we have 5 pro drivers out here today. It is a stacked field here in Japan, and the lights are up here for round 6 in the iRacing Grand Prix Series. Green flag is out. Off the line. Ooh, bad start for 3rd place there.
Yeah, bad start by Finch, but a great drag race by the leaders going into the first turn, and out wide goes Orozco. That'll give Umeshima the lead. Oh, and across goes Orozco. He hit Parlington.
Manages to get it off track. He's hit by one more car. That's Rene Venderbosch. Oh, bad day for him. Everybody else manages to sneak through. Umeshima out well clear now after that incident. Jorge Montañez slots into 2nd. And that is Michael Partington, who is now being challenged by Harrison Finch, going up from 5th on the grid, around the outside of Degner 1 and a car off behind him. That's Tommy Osgaard, who collects it back together in Degner 2.
Yeah, Osgaard pointed out in our YouTube chat, he's only gotten 3 laps of practice in. So, and it gets very close to the back of Rasmussen there. 1 car out wide in the hairpin, dropping positions. That's Oliveira.
Manu Domingo a little slow through the hairpin as well. Look at that, stack things up behind him. Rivera now side by side with Calistani, the Pure Racing teammate there of Domingo. He's going to have the inside to Spoon. Oh, and more contact. Oliveira goes off wide, comes back to the track, manages to collect it together. A sloppy start as he gets bumped off for a 2nd time in the same corner.
Yeah, good thing iRacing doesn't have punchers, because Boa would have one right there. What a dramatic opening lap, Joe. I have a feeling it's the cooler track temperatures leading to this. Drivers being very aggressive with the amount of grip they have. Rasmussen and battling for 4th place, spanning wheels with Partington a little bit. Partington trying to hold on with that front wing damage, but ahead of all of us is your race leader, Umeshima.
And despite that off, Osgaard now moves himself up into 5th past Partington. Great recovery. Already just in front of him, he's got Rasmussen, and he is looking on him into the S's. Not often you see passes into there. He has to back out.
So Umeshima leads Montañez, Finch, Rasmussen, Osgaard, Parrington, as you just mentioned, Evan Lathoris, the first driver who I would say a mid-pack starter, starting in 9th place. He's had a clean opening lap, trying to find a way around the damage machine of Parrington.
No way past for now, and what this has done is sent our black stripe drivers all over the field. They mostly started up front, but they are mixed in and peppered throughout now, as we see a little bit of a side-by-side battle back here for 10th. This is between Germanton and Calistani. These two have faced off before. Calistani has the outside into Spoon, but a little bit more speed is going to get him into ninth.
Ninth out of 19 drivers still on track. We had 20 starters, and the only one we lost was Roscoe, who has taken blame for the opening turn incident, and let's get a replay of that.
Let's see what happened to Orozco now. This was into the second corner. Here we see the start off the line. As up on the screen you saw Umeshima, even though he's in the lead, he's pushing hard, gets the fastest lap of the race. Off the line, I believe that's Finch ducking to the outside there that we saw. Here from above, we'll get a good look at it. Just slipped out wide, even though he was ahead at the start, and that grass, oh, tried his hardest to stay in it, Sam, and it looked like it bit him, and badly.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of sim setup Orozco has, Joe. I'm sure at his level it's a pretty good one, but this is something that happens in sim racing a little bit. Sometimes you don't have as great of a feel of a car as what you go off as what you do in real life. This is something that happens in real world racing a lot. The drivers just try and keep their foot in it when they have a couple wheels off, never quite knowing where the limit of that traction is.
While we were watching that, Osgard moved himself into fourth, but we got a bit of a battle between Germanton and Thompson now. Thompson comes out on top, gets himself into 10th. Germanton moving backwards a little bit and already under threat from the car behind. Oh, but a great exit out of Spoon is going to allow him to go back on the attack on Thompson. Looks around the outside of 130R. It's going to be a game of chicken, but Thompson wins out.
Yes, a bit of a battle for sixth shaping up as well, with Parrington being challenged by the Torres. And let's not forget now, DRS is open, so we probably will see some passes taking place on the front straight. That's why Torres is going defensive there against Domingo. Domingo started 11th, got up to 8th with all that opening lap carnage.
Boy, I thought it would be difficult to pass here, but we've seen a lot of aggressive moves and some brave moves, and we're only on lap 4. This is a bit of a shorter distance race today, being 34 laps. Last week, we saw a full Grand Prix distance. Drivers may be a little bit more eager, knowing they've got less time to make something happen and fewer pit stops.
Yeah, gave a shout out to Domingo there for picking up 3 stops at the start. Right behind him, picking up 6 spots from the start is Matteo Calistani, 15th to 9th. And then 9 spots, doing it even better. Josh Thompson didn't set a qualifying time, so he's starting 19th. He's already up to 10th. But all 19 cars that are still on track are only covered by 22 seconds back to Stephen Larkamp in the number 16 machine. That's the first appearance we've seen for Larkamp on the GSRC broadcast in this series this season. I also know him from the Lionheart Racing series, where he's a newcomer there, very strong. So that just tells you the talent of field we have here, Joe, that even someone of Stephen Larkamp's caliber back here running in 19th position right now.
We are in top split now. Lathoris, whoa! Lathoris a little too greedy into Casio. That sends him around. Another car off behind him is Stefan Schmidt. Let's watch and see what happened to Lathoris here. He was going for a pass on Partington. Did he get squeezed off the track? No, he had plenty of room. Just outbraked himself. Let's watch from Partington's view. We're going to see a missile just sail on by. Woo! VRT machine doesn't hit anything, but loses a number of positions in the process.
Partington, I've got to imagine his car's gotten, I mean, well, we can tell visually that it's gotten damage, and I've got to imagine that's hurting him, because he qualified 3rd, and then after getting that damage, he dropped back several positions on the opening lap. But granted, he got a bit lucky there, but he's done a great job at being able to hold on to 6th. We just saw a change for 8th place in the back there. That was Thompson by Calistani.
Thompson trying to work his way forward, having started 19th, as you mentioned earlier, doing a great job of it, making some really decisive moves. Now, up front, we can't forget that Tommy Osgaard lost a few positions at the start by going off. Now, even though he may have had a lack of practice, his memory of this track seems pretty good, because already he has caught up to our winner in our first broadcast, Harrison Finch.
Yeah, Finch has had a bit of bad luck recently. I'm sure he's got to just be hoping to get to the finish right now.
And it doesn't fight too hard as Osgaard uses that DRS to slip on through. Now, another black stripe driver, Orozco, was out obviously on the first lap. Michael Partington seems to be gone. Let me see if I can figure out if he was disconnected or if he actually had an incident.
Sorry, Joe. Domingo is having a big off in the S's. Comes back on and collects another machine. That was Rob Bower. That was one of those things, these S's, when these turns all work together. If you miss one apex, you're going to miss the second apex even more, the third apex even more. You see it starts as a small off, ends in the middle with a big off, and then finally it's a major crash.
Ooh, yeah, Bower is probably not going to have some very nice things to say, because it looks like Domingo tried to bring it back on, but unfortunately just entered the track a little bit unsafe, I'd say.
Yeah, you gotta wonder if Domingo's not a huge fan of this track, Joe, because we've seen him being a top contender throughout. But then, mind you, we do, I think, have a higher strength of field here in today's race than we've had past rounds. And it just seemed he was a bit more of a mid-pack driver today than what he has been. So maybe this isn't Domingo's cup of tea.
Yeah, this is a bit of a divisive track here as we take a look at Domingo working his way through 130R.
Now, and to clarify your point about Paddington, Joe, he has lost the connection.
Oh, sad to see. So only 3 of our 5 pro drivers are left out here today in this top split race. We're looking at a very close battle here where Adam Tierney is sandwiched between Germanton and Oliveira, and Oliveira is one of our black stripe drivers that we just mentioned, sitting in 10th at the moment. His way out of the S's on to the Dunlop curve. And then they come up to Degner. Ooh, and Tierney looking very strong. Not strong enough to try and attack on Germanton. He's going to have to wait patiently now as they hit the hairpin. Closes up. Could see maybe someone get a better exit out of here, and it's Germanton who starts to stretch away. Great defense there from the New Jerseyite.
Of course, all these drivers have ERS recovery systems. They can try and use a bit of extra power to defend at various places during the track. Now, we'll mention 18 cars still in this race. Domingo and Boa, despite their significant contact, they are actually both still in the race. They were able to drive around to the pits. The driver, of course, that we lost most recently is Paddington.
Yes, only 2 DNFs so far this race. We are on lap 8, though. And we continue to watch this battle now as Germanton a little bit under threat with the DRS, helping Tierney up behind him. But it's just not strong enough to give him a go into turn 1. Now they head back into the S's. Look at how close he's able to get. Is he going to be able to hold behind him as the wake of the car ahead is going to make it difficult to follow, trying to withstand the buffeting? Radical's online machine doing a good job holding station, staying right in the tire tracks of that Affinity F1 car. Down through the Degner corners one more time. And Oliveira, the one really just kind of hanging back in that popcorn position, not attacking that we've seen yet, Sam.
Yeah, but he might want to watch out behind him, because remember, Evan Lathoris is only back there in 11th after making that big mistake at Casio a few laps ago. Will be interesting to see if Lathoris, and I expect he will soon join in this pack.
Ooh, could we see a good exit? You can tell Tierney is pushing hard, and he does get a great exit. It's going to close up behind. If he can stay behind through 130R, he could get an opportunity into Casio. Great job by Tierney. Looks to the inside. later on the brakes, finds the apex, move Adam Tierney up to 8th. The lone DRS is going to give an opportunity for Germanton to come back at him, but I don't think he's close enough.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Joe. Move him up to 8th for now, but he is able to hold on. No, he's not. He's off and back to 10th.
1 step forward, 2 steps backward for Adam Tierney. He gained a spot for all of 2 corners. Now he is sitting in 10th. So jumping ourselves up to 5th, Rasmussen and Thompson. Thompson just been on a chair. Yeah. Looking at a top 5. This is incredible stuff. Nothing doing. Down into the hairpin corner. Sets himself up for a good exit. Now, not often you see moves into Spoon here. And I don't think he's going to be quite close enough to Rasmussen to attempt one this time.
Now, if I recall correctly, Thompson used to be a pro driver, but he hadn't raced this car since January when he showed up 1 week ago at Montreal and finished in 4th place. So he has definitely, it's been like riding a bicycle. He's gotten right back on it and back where he left off.
That is one fast bike right now. Ooh, a bit greedy on the curves for Nicholas Rasmussen. You can see that car bouncing around. And Thompson's got the DRS as he closes in up the front stretch. How brave is he going to be? Rasmussen goes defensive. He's going to be around the outside. Can he get it done? Chops him off at the second apex. Magnificent stuff from the number 10.
And now he is just 4 seconds behind the battle for 3rd. Osgaard is now having a bit of pressure from Finch behind. And now remember, Osgaard got by Finch earlier on in the race. But it looks like maybe this is Finch's time to shine as we're 10 laps in.
Yeah, as quickly as he caught Finch, I'm kind of surprised. Maybe Finch is just using the DRS in the wake to good effect to try and hold on to the coattails of Osgaard. But whatever the case, he certainly managed to turn it up in that number 14 and is holding the number 2 honest. Question is this going to become a 3-car fight as his co-anded teammate, Osgaard's co-anded teammate, is now rocking up to the back of them?
Oh, Thompson was just off entering Spoon. I wondered if that cost him any time, but I didn't know he's still in 5th place ahead of Rasmussen.
Now, the advantages of paved runoff to at least limit the damage there. You see Osgaard works his way through Casio, just ahead of his rival, Harrison Finch. Didn't really get to see what Finch could do last week, being taken out early at Montreal. Today, I think, is the answer. We missed quite a bit if he could have been in that mix.
Yeah, he got taken out. He actually ended upside down in the opening sequence of turns at Montreal. Now, if I recall correctly, the driver of this number 14 machine was also running up front at Silverstone just a couple races ago when he binned it.
Yeah, despite winning Spa, a bit of a hot and cold season for Harrison Finch since. Here on GSRC, we first got to know him in the Formula Renault. It's been a bit of a traditional rise for Finch here on the broadcast, going from a little bit less powerful open wheeler here to the top end machinery. I think he's shown himself to be a potential talent for the future. I know he has told us he is aiming for getting up to the pro license level. Hasn't got there yet, though. And how about this? A Japanese driver leading the Japanese Grand Prix, Kazuki Umeshima, has extended his gap to about 5 seconds over Montañez. Montañez has not had an answer for him yet. Now, that could change in the pit stops. We haven't seen any yet. We're expecting a single stop today. Could maybe see some no-stoppers out there, but from what I understand, the tires tend to get worn out from some of the high-energy corners around here, Sam.
Yeah, the lap times have dropped off about a second for each driver. They were running about a second slower than what they were at the start of a race. Of course, they have a lot less fuel in their cars now than what they were at the start. So you could, in theory, come into the pits now, get a new set of tyres. It'll be the same compound. There's only one compound of tyres on these iRacing F1 machines. And that will probably get you to the end. But right now, especially for your leader, Umishima, I wouldn't be worried about strategy too much. Even if everyone else came in at the end of this lap and attempted the undercut on him, they'd fail because he's got 5 seconds up on them.
Yeah, that's a little bit too far for that unless Umishima is really sleeping and stays out there much longer. Now, we're watching Tierney and Germanton. You might have remembered that was a 3-car fight. Well, Diogo has checked out and has extended his gap to them in 8th to basically excuse himself from the fight. Now, it was 2, now it's 3 again because Evan Lathoris is on the back, and it might be 4 soon because here comes Ryan Parkins, who we haven't talked about a lot. He sits in 12th. Starting in 20th, actually.
Yeah, so these are drivers that might want to consider playing some strategy games to gain that track position. Oliveira, I wouldn't be surprised if he does the same thing. Even though he's broke away from this pack, he's been running a couple of cars in front of him down quite significantly. Maybe he could try and use the undercut to get by Calistani for 7th.
As they come on to the front stretch, no takers this time by. Not quite halfway, so it'd be a little bit early for the undercut. Maybe in a lap or 2, I think we might see some takers. Speaking of which, Rene Vanderbosch. He has a severe amount of damage on the front. He's going to get that front wing replaced here. Just like in real life, they can get that changed to get a fresh one. Unlike real life, though, it doesn't cost millions of dollars, so you have unlimited front wings.
Yeah, that's why the front end is up there. So he's got the new nose. I almost wonder, Joe, if this is so early, he might consider a second stop later in the race.
The car's lighter now, so he should be able to get there as we look at 7th place because Diogo has caught up with Matteo Calistani now.
Yeah, at the rate of about half a second a lap. Well, okay, granted, last lap it was only a 10th, but I believe a couple of laps ago it was half a second. So let's see if Diogo is able to get a good... Well, we'll definitely have DRS on Calistani, but we'll see if he can get a good exit from Casio and make the most of it.
We ride on board looking just over the nose. Well, Calistani looks pretty safe to me. Now, the thing I wonder is, I believe Calistani was one of those drivers who was involved in an incident or 2 early on. Does he have damage as well? And maybe that could be potentially slowing him up. I wonder if we could get a camera angle to take a glance here.
Well, something that was very interesting to me there, Joe, Calistani actually had a higher top speed on the front straight than Oliveira, despite not having use of a DRS. So he could have a much lower downforce setup in that car, which could be what's hurting him in that first sector of track right there, because Oliveira is definitely staying within reach right now. But Calistani hit 203 miles an hour before braking for turn 1. Oliveira only 201, and granted that doesn't sound like a lot, but Oliveira should have been going faster with the slipstream and with DRS.
Exactly. A trailing car should be just that little bit faster. Hasn't been able to do anything with Calistani at the moment. Just caught right up to him and suddenly stalled out. Now, we're hitting the backstretch. He's going to be well within the slipstream, so that should allow him to close in if he could hold through 130R as we ride on the helicopter through this fast and fearsome left-hander. Oh, just not close enough to attack into Casio.
Okay,
to the DRS once again.
This doesn't surprise me. Josh Thompson is coming in. He actually ran off the track 2 times on the previous lap, so I have a feeling he may have abused his tyres with his rally up through the field in the first half. Hey, but for an early pit stop, though, I take 15 positions. That sounds like a good trade-off for me.
Radical's online driver gets his tires, is down and away. Where is he going to slot out? I think about 14th as Alexei Sorokin
And
He's going
Tierney's
to
in
jump
the
him.
wall. Adam Tierney has spun off in the S's, and he does have damage to his front wing. I think he'll be able to continue.
He did a good job trying to limit the damage here. Tried to swing the car around, just loses it all on his own. Slight little tap. Gets it going once again, but down in 12th now. After he was much higher before. Oh, disappointment. Hopefully he didn't damage the suspension too badly with that tap as well.
Things getting dicey for P11 between Lathoris and Parkins, who are on their way down to 130 yards. Jorge Montañez comes in for his stop, and Tommy Osgard.
Very tight there between Lathoris and Parkins. Lathoris staying defensive into Casio. Parkins looks around the outside, but nothing doing.
Pit road is actually very busy. We're seeing pretty much the entire mid-pack of the field come in this time around.
At almost exactly halfway. Lathoris, one of those drivers who came in. Germanton pits as well. Osgard has come in and out. Finch has been in and out. Montañez already into turn one. Busy pit road there we saw from the cameras. There's Montañez. Currently sits in 4th at the moment. Drivers who have yet to pit: Umeshima, Kalistani, Parkins, Sorokin, and Larkamp. So really, the majority of our field has now taken their stop. Here is our leader coming around. Let's see if he responds this time. I can't imagine that he would stay out much longer. Even as safe as he is, it'd be foolish to try and keep the car going at a slower pace. Through Casio. No, he's going to stay out. Interesting. Next car across is going to be Kalistani. Now, even though he is in 2nd place, that is not a net 2nd place. He has yet to pit. Is he going to come in? His teammates have, and yes, he does. Parkins pits as well. That leaves only 3 cars out on track that have yet to pit.
Yes, Sorokin, one of those. He was just getting passed by Rasmussen in the Casio section. Sorokin's going to stay out another lap. I mean, I can understand. Well, Larkamp's coming in. I can understand why someone running midfield like Sorokin would want to do this to try and change up strategy and get up front. I don't understand why Umishima's doing it. The only thing I can guess, Joe, is maybe he's attempted, a couple of race simulations during practice and just worked out that this is the optimal strategy for him to go halfway. However, the undercut does backfire against him. I think that might be a little bit embarrassing. That being said, though, he did have a 5-second lead when this all started. So as long as he's able to use that cushion and kind of defend that lead, this might play out as it indeed Umishima comes into the pits this time around.
Well, the other thing this does do for him is he'll have slightly fresher tires at the end of the race, which will be a bit of an advantage. So if he felt safe, maybe he thought, push it a little bit farther, keep myself safe because I don't think I'm going to be jumped, and I can stretch away at the end just in case I'm under attack.
Yeah, the problem is, Joe, you tried to see Ferrari attempt the same thing with Sebastian Vettel very recently, and that didn't work out very well for them. Here comes Umishima, though, out of the pits. This is what the guys at the Scuderia team had planned a couple of weeks ago. Kazuki played it better.
Certainly did, because as he comes out and the timing catches up, about 5 seconds over Jorge Montañez, I think Kazuki executed just fine. So despite our skepticism early on, the Japanese driver out there is solidly in the lead, looking set to win his home Grand Prix Now, Alexei Sorokin has finally come in, and with significant damage on his front wing, should get that clip replaced.
Yeah, of the tracks where you do not want front wing damage, I think Suzuka goes up there with those.
Certainly does. We are watching Parkins and Tierney in a nice little fight. This is for 14th. Remember, Tierney had that incident not long ago, closing right up on the back of the UKNI driver. And now that we've had, I think, all pit stops done, because Larkamp has come in, why don't we take a second to run down our order and get you up to speed, starting with our leader. Kazuki Umeshima has been leading since the start. He was threatened into turn 1, but it went horribly wrong for Orozco, who is now DNF'd. Second place instead is Jorge Montañez, who started in 5th. Tommy Osgard is going to be starting, or is currently in 3rd after he had an off on the first lap, heading through Degner 1 and 2. Currently rounding out the podium, seeing if he could chase down Montañez. He has since passed Harrison Finch and finally dropped Finch, who has started in 4th and is currently in 4th. Now, how about Josh Thompson? He had to climb his way through the field last week, and he had to do the same for a different reason. This time, sits in 5th, having started 19th without a lap time. Nicholas Rasmussen currently sits in 6th position. Diogo Oliveira is in 7th, and Matteo Calistani is currently your 8th place driver. Kyle Germanton has gained a few positions, starting in 12th, currently in 9th, and Evan Lathoris, we're used to seeing him in quite a few fights. Today is no different. The Australian sits in the top 10.
Yeah, behind him we have Rene van der Bosch running in 11th place ahead of Stephen Schmidt. Rob Bower was in 13th, but he's now no longer there because he just came in for a second stop. So that moves Ryan Parkins, and the Ryan Parkins-Adam Turney battle is now for 13th and 14th place. Manu Domingo up to 15th. And then behind Domingo on track, you see Larkamp. He actually came in for a second stop. He wasn't there for a very long time for some reason, but he's still out there racing, but a lap down to the rest of the field. So the next car for position on the lead lap is Sorokin, and then Boa is behind him. And then next back on track, well, is Umeshima, the race leader, who might end up starting a lap, these tail enders, by the end of this. Then we'll have to wait and see.
That could affect the race. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Closest battle on track is still what we were watching before the run-through. That's between Tierney and Parkins. Tierney now on a recovery drive, unfortunately. Through the Casio triangle, Tierney's going to get DRS up on the main straight. What can he do with Parkins? He's just a little bit too far back as we look back over the rear wing of this gap machine. Pit stops have certainly spread the field out, and despite it being incredibly chaotic in the first couple laps, we only have 2 DNFs this race. That is Partington and Orozco. Larkamp currently the last car on track that Sam just detailed his second stop, which put him back into the final position.
Well, the biggest threat I see to these drivers now, Joe, is complacency. There's a couple of seconds gap between most of the drivers in the field. We pointed out the main exception being the Parkins-Tierney battle for 13th place. But these drivers, they're thinking right now, okay, I am where I am. I've got 14 laps left to go to the end. Pretty sure my tires will hold up. I don't have to pit any more times. No pressure from behind. Let's see if a guy in front of me drops off a little bit. But as they're just going to be logging these laps, their cars are going to be getting super quick because of the cool track conditions and the lower fuel loads. I'm just worried a couple of these drivers may be lulled into a false sense of security in these final 10 laps. I'll wait and see if anyone falls to any mistakes in the closing stage here.
Well, a driver that does not feel like they're under pressure is Umeshima, because he set another fastest lap, extending his gap now up to 7 seconds over Montañez. Despite having the lead, the Japanese driver is really on it today. As we ride on board, just nobody around. Where is that lap traffic? Rob Bauer is way up the track, so I think Umeshima is going to be pretty clear, at least until the dying stages.
Yeah, he's about 20 seconds away from being lapped, with about 1 to 2 seconds per lap for 10 laps left in this race. So yeah, it could happen. The good stories in this race, Joe, are P3 the 5. Osgaard, who came in with little practice, it showed on the opening lap. He made a pretty big mistake. It dropped him a few positions, but he's rebounded back to a podium finish. Harrison Finch, granted, not a stellar race compared to what we have seen him do earlier in this season, but I have a feeling a solid result is just what the doctor ordered after the recent incidents we've seen him involved in at previous races. And then right behind him is Josh Thompson, who has rallied his way through the field. However, I saw Thompson put a couple of wheels off last lap, and this was one driver I am going to be a little bit concerned with in the closing stages, because it seems he has been on full-out attack all race long, and it was starting to backfire against him right ahead of the first round of stops. I saw him making more and more offs, telling me his tyres were starting to go off, and that's not something he's going to want to deal with in the closing laps. Domingo in, can't imagine this is scheduled.
Yeah, this is definitely not expected. I don't see any visible damage on the car, or is there actually on the rear wing potentially? That looks like it might be bent up a little bit. Did he have an incident? Let me take a look and see if he ran into something or someone.
He was actually in the previous lap before this as well.
Huh,
so
interesting.
He's not happy about something. I don't know if it's something software related, but not the race Domingo was after.
No, certainly not. But we're taking a look at 6. Nicholas Rasmussen has to worry about what's behind, because Diogo Oliveira is now within DRS range. Last lap, Oliveira was half a second faster than Rasmussen. What about this time around? Is he still gaining?
He may have not got DRS if he was out of range there. By the way, apologies to any friends or relatives of loved ones who are currently on the floor for playing our drinking game of every time we've called Diogo Diego.
Yeah. Well, he was another 4/10 faster that time by, so he is still gaining on Rasmussen. They go through Degner 1 and 2. Now the question is, can Rasmussen stay cool and try to just deny him any opportunities? All he has to do is try and make sure that when he gets to that DRS zone on the front stretch, fend him off, and everywhere else just hold his line and not make mistakes. Out of Spoon they go. This is one of those places where a good exit is critical. And wow, much better exit than Oliveira. Wonder if he had a bit of wheel spin out of that corner. Just unusually slow off the turn. Well down behind them, Rob Bauer, despite being run into earlier on in this race, is trying to come back forward. He's got Alexei Sorokin up ahead of him.
Yeah, these drivers have been able to gain a couple of positions recently with the unexpected lengthy pit stops for Manu Domingo and Stephen Larkamp, who are both still out on track, but they're a lap down. So Sorokin currently holding on to 15th, and Tierney is off. Running in 14th ahead of him. He has gone off excellent Casio, but I don't think he hit anything, so Tierney should not lose a position to that battle behind him. We'll get a replay.
And this looks like just under power. He goosed it, and the car went around. Now, this is the second time we've seen him self-spin I wonder if whatever setup he's got on that car is just not agreeing with the weather today.
When we cut back to live action here, Boa did just pick up 15th place from Sorokin. He pretty simple pass, really. He just got DRS down the main straight, was able to make it stick.
We're gonna watch him set this car up. And that beautiful bright paint scheme is gonna flash by that Hoisingveld sponsored car of Sorokin.
Speaking of setting up, we're setting up for a battle for second at the end here, I think. Osgard, slowly but surely reeling Montañez in.
Yeah, previous laps for Montañez, 32.7, 32.6, 32.7. Pretty consistent. 32.6, 32.2, 32.5 from Osgard. He's been chipping away very patiently. We've seen this sort of thing from Osgard before, using that two-stop strategy to take the win last week. On a 2-win streak. Now today, don't think that's going to be happening, and getting a hat trick of them. Umeshima well too far ahead, that lack of practice. Bit the Scandinavian.
Well, Umeshima was a second off a pace to these two last lap around, but I've got to imagine that's just him managing his equipment, because Umeshima was one of the last drivers to pit after that round of stops.
I think I can agree on that. He's trying to keep from making mistakes throughout the rest of this race, I would assume. You see the Radicals online driver.
Tenny off again in Casio, and he's going to call it a day. So whatever's been bugging him over there, he just skidded off on entry this time. And that all bump Boa and Sorokin up into 14th, 15th place.
Well, that was, I think that was actually coming into Dunlop.
Yep, you're correct. I just saw the car parked at the...
Not a common place you see cars go off. Ooh, wow. Oh, quick overcorrection, and that thing snapped in a hurry.
Oh, no, I was right. It was ahead of Casio chicane. It was just using the shortcut version of the track.
No such handling problems for pro driver Umeshima. 9 laps to go. Just has to keep it steady, keep it on track. The real battle is going to be for second. How many times have we seen this in F1? While the leader romps away, suddenly an almighty fight erupts in the dying stages for a second place finish.
If the leader didn't just... No, he didn't lose his connection. That's good. Umeshima, I think, was blinking in and out a little bit right there. Yeah, a new battle shaping up on track here, Joe, but I have a feeling this one will be resolved with quickly. Parkins has been running Schmidt down about a second a lap.
A little bit slower than we're used to seeing from Stefan Schmidt today. Just doesn't seem to be on it. Maybe this is another driver that doesn't particularly like this track. The Affinity car now being hounded by Parkins' machine. Oh, look at him close under braking for the hairpin. Can he get the run off the corner? That's the critical part. Gonna stay with him, within touch, but not within attacking distance. Oh, he's very wide on the entry to Spoon. Still manages to hold it together. Has the slipstream up the backstretch, up to 130R. Parkins, another one of the drivers, didn't get a qualifying time in. Started in 20th, sitting in 13th. Trying to get himself outside of that unlucky number.
Here's his best opportunity.
Should get the DRS. And did the flap not open? Oh, and I guess it's open. It looks to the inside. Very late move, but not close enough. Almost gets into the gearbox of Schmidt.
And the reason I think Parkins really needs to try and capitalize now is not only is Parkins running the second a lap faster than Schmidt, but also Vanderbos, who is only 5 more seconds up the road. And so the longer Parkins takes to try and make this pass stick for 12th place, the less time he's going to have to try and run down Van der Bosch for P11.
I feel like that'd be a little bit of a hard ask with 7 laps to go and them having almost 5 seconds up to Van der Bosch.
Yeah, but I think he has the pace to do it.
Well, like you said, it's going to have to take a very quick move here if he wants to do it. Closes in under braking into Spoon. Oh, he's very close now. A good exit will do it as we ride on board with Parkins. He's going to try and maybe do it before 130R. He gains. He's going to have to lift, though. Now up to Cassio. Does Schmidt stay defensive? No, he lets him through. Can he make the apex? Both of them locking up. And how about Ryan Parkins? Lick the stamp and send it. Let's watch that one more time.
I'll use another famous quote here for the chicane intro. This is the opportunity he's looking for, and he's going through. Oh, but this time it actually works.
All right, now Parkins sets his sights on Van der Bosch, and you might be right. Despite battling side by side, it is now down to 4 seconds up to Van der Bosch. He chopped 7/10 off of him. There we see Van der Bosch, the Benelux driver, going to take a stab. I'm guessing Netherlands. I don't know for sure, but judging by the last name, seems like a safe bet. Ooh, Oscar now within the DRS zone of Montañez. Second place battle getting ever closer. The former driver instructor at Silverstone is looking at getting himself to the middle step of the podium here in that Coana machine. Remember, he had a bad qualifying. Started in the 4th row in 7th place. This is a nice little recovery drive from Tommy today. Big moment there coming out of Degner too, though. Holds it together, doesn't really lose much time. But I think it's safe to say, Sam, that Tommy's pushing.
Yeah, we saw his hands all up and over the wheel as he had that moment. And these drivers can afford to fight. They have 10 seconds over Finch, so...
And now it's time for Montañez to have a moment out of Spoon, the second apex. Exactly the parts that you don't want to make a mistake, because now Tommy is within 2/10. 6 laps to go, going to be 5 to go this time across the line. He's got plenty of chances to try it. Under braking into Cassio. Tommy not close enough to try and send it in. Now he gets the DRS.
Yep. All right, so what's their top end speed going to look like at the end here? Montañez going defensive, hitting 203 miles an hour, hitting 212 is Oscar before looking on the outside and goes over the rumble strip, able to keep the car on the grey stuff, but keep it in third position too. That's not what he wants.
Well, he is all over the gearbox now of Montañez. The wake pushing him backwards, slowly but surely through the S's as they snake back and forth. Now they come up to Dunlop. This is where we saw a mistake from Oscar last time, coming out of Degner too. Can he be a little bit cleaner? Can he give himself an opportunity here into the hairpin? Looks a lot stronger. This is going to come from a long way back, and yes, he's going to just stay in line.
So while there's a break in this action, I mentioned Parkins was able to get up to 11th. I believe Van der Bosch actually had an off in Spoon. Parkins was able to capitalize on that and make that pass.
Take a little bit of a glance here to 6th place, because Oliveira and Rasmussen have still not separated, but they're still in the same order as the last time we looked in about 10 laps ago. Don't forget, behind them, Matteo Calistani starting to make this a 3-way.
All right, so Oscar showed that his car definitely can have a straight line speed when he has that DRS open. He tried to make the outside work last lap around. Montañez defended to the inside. Is Oscar... Yeah, look, he's already down the inside. He says, nope, this is the lane I'm taking this time, Montañez, but he's not able to get the slipstream by driving over there.
I'm pretty sure Montañez was probably on the battery there, trying to use as much of his ERS as he can. That certainly kept him safe.
This season in iRacing, this Formula One car has had a bit of issues with the regeneration of the ERS system. That has been fixed.
All right, down to 4 laps to go. Can Montañez fend him off? Both drivers started off the podium on the grid, and both are looking to finish on the podium now. They are well ahead of Harrison Finch. It's not impossible that Finch could catch them if they really start battling hard, but I think these two are free to fight and know that they are safe to finish at least within the top 3 here. Ooh, Oliveira getting very close to Rasmussen now. Oh, but Rasmussen gets a great exit out of Degner, too, to keep himself safe into the hairpin corner. All 3 of them lying astern. Your order: 6th, Rasmussen; 7th, Oliveira; 8th, Calistani. And we can stay on this because Sam, Montañez has responded. He is now almost out of DRS range.
Yeah, it could be planned by Tommy. Maybe he thought, okay, I've been heating up the tyres, driving aggressively, trying to get second place from Jorge. I just need to back off a little bit, call my equipment back down and give it a last challenge in the last lap or 2. There's just 2.5 laps left to go for those leaders right now. The battle for 6th, it's almost on. They're a bit strung out right now. I don't think we're going to see anything happening into turn 1 this time by. Next time by, with 2 laps to go, could be a different story.
And when we were on board there with Diogo, he was using a lot of curb through Casio as that car just bounded over it, but didn't lose time despite being aggressive. Right now, Oliveira is the lowest of the pro drivers of the 5 that started this race that at least is still in it. 2 of them have DNF. That's what's interesting here, Sam, is the only 2 DNFs we've had, both of them have black stripes.
Yeah, unfortunately, Tierney also has gone multiple laps down. He's pulled it into the pits. You could consider him a DNF too, taking us down to 17 cars. 14 still left on the lead lap. Looks like those 14 should all finish on the lead lap, but in which order? P2 and P6 definitely still up for grabs.
Diogo, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, P12 maybe as well. Van der Bosch getting caught by Steven Schmidt.
A little bit far apart, I think, as they work their way through the hairpin. Oliveira very close this time. Not close enough to attack into Casio, but if he can get the run off of this final chicane, he'll get the DRS. Just not looking strong enough on the power. Bit of the same for Calistani. You can see Calistani getting a little psychological, poking his nose out. Down to 2 laps to go. Penultimate lap.
And really, turn 1 next time by is going to be your best opportunity to make a pass, because, of course, in 2 laps' time, when they come back around to turn 1, the best passing opportunity, DRS ain't going to help you a whole lot. The race will be over.
Now, we've jumped back up to 2nd here because Montañez actually has some lap traffic ahead of him in the form of Alexei Sorokin. Now,
that could help him, though.
Yeah.
It could, if he times it just right, he might be able to get DRS off of him down the front straight. Like I say, this is really the last easy passing opportunity for Oscar, easy being a relative term. And Sorokin's going to pull right out for them. Hopefully it doesn't come back on the track. It does. But this is great news for Montañez. I think he might be able to get the DRS here.
Watching that rear wing. Did that open up? No, it did not. Oh, so he didn't get it, but Oscar did. But Oscar too far back.
Oscar, it's the last lap now. Oscar's not going to have any more DRS pass opportunities given to him. He's going to have to do it the hard way.
All right. Does the Scandinavian get aggressive now, or does he settle for 3rd? We talked to him if he's interested in the championship, and the answer was yes. He wants to try and finish as high as he can.
Nothing happened in the battle for 6 down the front straight. Oh, actually, I take that back. Oliveira overshoots turn 2. That costs him 7th position to Calistani.
Take a look at it a little bit later. As that battle still close, but not close enough. The hairpin, one of the good opportunities to pass, but it passes by Osgaard, and he's starting to lose ground on Montañez, who responds to try and keep himself safe into the final opportunity, which is the Casio Triangle, which is being approached by Kazuki Umeshima. We've never seen a Japanese driver win in Japan in the real world, but we're going to see it in the virtual world as Umeshima takes it from second to the win here at Japan.
And Montañez will get second. Oscar giving it all he had through 130R, put his wheels off. What about the battle for 6th? I'm a bit curious about, because as we mentioned, it looks like Rasmussen will get 6th. Calistani should be able to get 7th after that mistake by Oliveira in turn 1.
Let's get Josh Thompson crossing the line. How about this guy? 19th to 5th. That was a gutsy drive from the UK&I driver.
Yeah, it was the Queen's birthday yesterday. It's always a happy time to be British. Rasmussen, 6th place. Calistani, 7th. Oliveira, 8th.
Evan Lathoris was trying everything to get past Germanton to get himself 9th place, but it was all for naught. Lathoris is going to have to settle for that 9th spot.
Yeah, this is the one last battle, really, we have on the track, and Schmidt making 130R as wide as he could. Didn't work. Van der Bosch going to get 12th ahead of Schmidt in 13th. That's the lap car of Domingo behind them.
Now, let's take a look at what happened to Diogo. This is into the first corner.
Yeah, he was just trying to get a bit too greedy, Joe. I don't think it was ever going to work from that far back, and he just overshot turn 1 and 2 and then backfired against him.
Ooh, good catch, though, at the end of that incident. Well, with that, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as the driver interviews. And on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back here to Suzuka International Circuit. We just watched round 6 of the iRacing Grand Prix Series. Kazuki Umeshima took a home win. I'm sure he's going to be happy about that. He finished just ahead of Jorge Montañez, who had a brilliant drive to withstand incredible pressure from Tommy Osgaard. Now, Osgaard went from 7th to 3rd, which is impressive by itself, but even more impressive considering how much pressure he was putting on Montañez, since Osgaard, we found out after the race, had 5 laps too much fuel. That is a lot in F1 terms. That makes the car very heavy. Harrison Finch took a 4th place finish behind them, with Josh Thompson having the drive of the day, if you ask me, going from 19th to 5th. Nicholas Rasmussen behind him in 6th, managing to fend off 2 drivers in the form of Calistani, who takes 7th, and Diogo Oliveira, who finishes 8th. Kyle Germanton takes the 9th place, and rounding out the top 10 is Evan Lathoris.
Yeah, so let's go to page 2 here. Finishing in 11th position was Ryan Parkins, with a couple of good passes late on over Rene van der Bosch in 12th place and Stefan Schmidt in 13th. Rob Boas raced did not go the plan. He finished at 14th, the last car on the lead lap. Alexei Sorokin was 15th, 1 lap down, ahead of Manu Domingo and Stephen Larkamp, who had some troubles in the middle of the race. Adam Tierney had some troubles in the middle of the race also. That results in him not finishing in 18th place. Michael Partington also out of the race, 19th, and Ricardo Orozco started on pole. Unfortunately, that was about all the good news he had today.
And with that, we have some of our drivers to talk to post-race. First up is our 2nd place finisher, Jorge Montañez, who, like we said, really had to go on the defensive towards the end and worry about what was behind. Jorge, I have to imagine you're probably pretty happy going from 5th to 2nd today.
Yeah, of course, I'm pretty happy with the result, because when I saw the strength of the field with those names, I was like, I will try to do the best race and see what happened. So after the crash in the first lap, it was easier to manage the tire, but even with that, I had problems at the end of the both stints.
Yeah, we were a little surprised with just how many incidents we saw in the first couple laps. Do you think that drivers were maybe a little overeager because of it being a shorter race today, or what do you attribute it to?
Suzuka is always very tight in the first laps, because it's like a sequence of fast corners, and you are very, very close to the next car or the car on your side. And when you have a car in your left or right side, you probably have less downforce that you don't know, because normally you take in account the downforce when a car is ahead of you. But yeah, Suzuka is very tricky in racing situations.
Now, in those final laps, Tommy reeled you in and tried his best to get by. What was your method to keep him back? Was there a lot of ERS application to try and fend him off on the front stretch when he would get DRS?
Well, today, yes, I wasn't looking very much the gap behind, so I was like in minimal ERS, trying to push in the strides, because my tires couldn't afford a harder braking. And well, I was under pressure of Tommy that had a really great drive, so I just tried to keep the car on the track, and that was my main goal today.
All right, strength through consistency. It worked, and you got yourself a 2nd place finish. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Jorge Montañez taking a middle step in the podium. Bottom step of the podium was last week's winner, Tommy Osgaard. Sam has caught up to him.
Yeah, Tommy, we've seen you have some good races this season, some bad races. How do you rank this one?
Just a lack of preparation. The level is too good here to just turn up like I did today, so I obviously need to put more effort in to be able to challenge for that first bet for that top spot. But quite happy with today, considering everything and that chaos at the start. So I guess it's a result to take home.
Yeah, because you mentioned the chaos at the start. How much do you think a cooler track temperature contributed to that? And can you talk about the moment you had on the opening lap?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the cold temperatures may make it a bit harder. I quite liked it, to be honest, because you have a bit more grip. But yeah, I guess it's just very different from the practice session, at least the one I was in. But yeah, Ricardo spun, and then I had I can't remember who it was, but I had someone on my outside, and it just got a bit too tight there. So we yeah, got together, but I don't think I got any damage from it, so car was fine. But it was a bit of a scary moment.
Yeah, always interesting when you see a car pull up in Parc Ferme in the podium position with a bit of damage on it. But hey, you made it work. And, well, we got Road America next week. Are you going to be able to get some practice in for that? And do you think we'll see you back on the top step of the podium there?
Definitely. Road America is the next race in the World Championship as well, which is next Saturday. So that'll be the day before. So I'll have loads of preparation for that race. So hopefully I should be able to challenge for the win in this series, and hopefully a good result in the World Championship as well.
All right, well, we wish you the best of luck in the World Championship race. Hopefully we'll be speaking to you on the podium again next week.
Thanks, man, and thanks for the broadcast as always. It's really, really good.
All right, well, we appreciate that. That was Tommy Oscar Joe, and I believe you've called up with our big move in the race, Josh Thompson.
Indeed, the UK&I driver maybe didn't get a podium this time, but a top 5, I think, should be a bit of a proud moment for him. Let's start at the beginning, Josh, with the qualifying. I noticed that you have 2 laps that don't look like they counted. What happened in quali?
Same corner both times, 130R. First time just went in a bit too fast. Didn't expect the grip to be as strong in that corner. Turned in, hit the curb, bounced off, it went wide, so easy off track, which is fair enough. But I knew I didn't hook the lap up, so I was like, okay, I've got a bit of time in me. Felt I nailed most of the lap, then went to 130R, turned in, got a big wiggle and another off track. So that was that, really.
Now, we've seen a similar situation earlier on this season at Spa with your fellow UK&I driver Harrison Finch starting from the back and climbing forward. What did you do once that qualifying was over to kind of prepare yourself for the race ahead? Were there any changes setup-wise or any sort of different mental state that you put yourself into?
I just had to go for it, really. I knew that we had the pace from testing, even though we started testing like this morning, like 10 o'clock UK time, so with the team, the last-minute effort to join and do the race. But I knew I had the pace compared to a lot of people around me, up to probably say the top 5. I knew I probably could get there. So obviously the start helped with a massive crash at turn 1, which unfortunately took Michael and gave Michael a bit of damage. But really, I felt I just plucked my way through. I got a bit of damage on the rear as well at the start because I got a massive check up in the hairpin. But no, other than that, just kept coming through. And yeah, the pace was really good, actually.
Now, this track is very popular with some drivers, often called a driver's track. How do you rate it? Is it one that you feel particularly strong at, or do you have any strong feelings towards it?
I would say this is probably one of my favorite tracks, especially in this car. I just feel like I probably could have got a podium. Should have been near Kazuki, I think, with the pace we had. But obviously, my mistakes just trying too hard. And this track bites you when you make a little mistake. So, same in the race, pinching Tommy up before the stops, was going to force the undercut and then made a mistake and dropped like 3 seconds after going off, which is a bit of a shame. But overall, a really good track, perfect for this car.
Well, you certainly gave us some action today. Congratulations on a 5th, and we hope to see you next week.
Cheers, guys.
That was Josh Thompson, 5th place finisher, which sounds a lot more impressive when you realize he started in 19th. So with that, we're going to close up today. And of course, we want to thank the IGPS community for coming and having us broadcast. And of course, we want to thank all the donators who helped make this broadcast possible. Got some new ones, I understand, this week. There you see all the names of the people who helped make this come to the air. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sam, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel. Also, we're on Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head on over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button as well so that you don't miss a moment here on the GSRC. The next race, as we mentioned, heading over to America for one of the classic tracks, Road America, Sunday, April 29th at 10 a.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.